All right, here we go. This conversation has potential to go sideways very early on. Oh man! So first, we're going to start with. I was going to say something about your ring because I just see it shining in my eyes, but that's
sorry.
So no, it doesn't bother me. Oh man, guys, I don't know how long. When did we first meet? What was it, 16, 17 years ago, something like that?
2009.
Yeah, way back.
Well, I got to ask you something. Tom has told this story for years now, and you know, Tom can tell a good story. There's always truth to the story. Sometimes there's just, you know, there's details.
I know the one he's down.
So is that true? Because the story is, for anyone that hasn't heard it, he's like, yeah, and this is Matt and Gino. So he uses it as an example of, you know, some real estate investors, like members a long time, have had some success. And he's like, you know, Gino went up to me after the class before he signed up, and his version of events is he said, look, I'm going to sign up. And I'm going to do everything you tell me to. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to come find you. And apparently he said, hey, don't come find me, go find Nick. But anyways, but is there an element of truth to that?
Not that so many words, but I was, you know, when somebody says to me, do this and these will be the results.
Yeah.
And I'm forced because I'm not one to trust anybody. I just don't like to be put in a position to trust somebody. So I just went up to him and I said, this better work. This better work.
Yeah, or you're in for it.
Yeah.
And you're a pretty imposing figure. I mean, especially at that time, I think you even had more muscle mass on you at that time. Right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't, you know, there's an element of like, oh shit, it better work. You know?
Yeah, I don't mean to be like that, but
no, I mean,
people tell me that I'm intimidating, and that's fine with me.
Well, people have told me that too, but it's. I think they say it to me just because of my directness. Like I'm just very direct.
Me too. I say what's on my mind. Simple. You don't like it, too bad.
Yeah, but see, I like that because then I never have to guess what you're thinking.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of like that. Yeah. Maybe as a son growing up with that, you might be like, oh crap.
But the opposite of that.
Oh really?
Oh yeah. It takes
nothing bothers me.
Oh,
it's so easygoing. It's ridiculous.
Oh, geez. You know what, though? There was a number of years later, you were on stage at one of the earlier events.
Yeah.
And someone asked you, I forget the question, but they basically go, so how did you do this? How did you do this? And I remember your answer because you were like, well, it was all in that. So the same system that you kind of questioned, and you're like, well, it was all in that book. I just read that book and I just did what it told me.
Exactly.
It was there.
And I've done that all my life. I mean, I learned to work on cars by getting the book, reading the book. Back then it was book. It wasn't online. And you just read it, read the instructions, understand it, talk to some people who've done it, and go do it. And I've been like that all my life. If you don't know how to do it, learn how to do it and go do it.
And
simple.
go do it. That's it.
Go do it.
It is simple.
Yeah.
So then how do you, if you're not the most trusting person, how do you decide who to trust?
I don't make that decision. I just don't like to be put in that position where I'm expected to trust somebody. I don't want to be put in that position. I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah. But eventually you have to, like if someone's giving you guidance, for example, on the car, you're learning how to work on a car. If someone's giving you guidance, you're trusting that person's kind of giving you the right guidance.
Well, I don't know if that's trust in that person. I mean, if he tells you, if he's a master mechanic and he says, this is what you do.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you know, that's not the kind of trust I'm talking about. Trusting somebody with maybe an investment or you know, even the real estate. I mean, some of those financial obligations and risks are real. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you got to, I don't know if that's trust either, but
okay, I get it. Yeah,
trust the process, maybe. I don't know, but I just don't like to be put in that position where I have to trust somebody.
Do you guys manage your own properties?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And is that because you don't trust someone? But no, I know. I mean, is that why, or what's the logic of still because you guys have had a number of properties. I don't know how many there are now. I know you've had some, and you've probably let go of some, and you know, back and forth. Yeah. But is that just kind of like, hey, we like it, we know? Yeah. Because typically when you manage it yourself, it is managed better. I mean, no one's going to take care of it like you guys would. And what's the reason for it?
I think that's just how we always have done it. We started out that way, and then that's the way it was.
So
just managed. Even when at one point we had 12 properties. We were managing them all. Managing them all ourselves. And I don't know, it's just always been that way.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, with the business, with the health club, that was a big undertaking and it's a busy place. But I think our agreement right from the start was I'll look after the real estate because I was done working at the club, and you look after the health club. And that's the way it's been for most of the years that's gone by. I mean, we do our inspections together. Like when we started, he was 21 years old. I mean, so I wanted him to learn. So he would go to the inspections with me. If there was some repairs that needed to be done, he would do them with me, you know, just so he could learn from doing, you know. But
were you interested in real estate at that time, or you were just kind of like my dad, you know, I'm just kind of going along. I'm going along for the ride, essentially.
Yeah. No, I was, because I think I was probably around 18, 19 years old, and that probably is when you started flipping property. So I was watching him do that, and I was there helping with some of that stuff, and that started the interest. And then there was a book he gave me. I don't remember what it was called. And just one day I remember it at the kitchen table. He said, if you ever want to get ahead in life, you're going to want to start thinking about, you know, investing in real estate or something like that. Gave me a book. I read it. And then from there I was like, yeah, this is something I'm definitely interested in and wanting to do. And then it was probably a year or so after that he came to a Rockstar class, and then he came back home and said to me, if you know, there's this program, rent to own, I think it would be good for you, a way for you to get in, and we'll do it together, but it has to be 50-50. And so that's how we got started, or how I got started. Yeah. And it was with the rent to owns.
Do you remember the book, Gino?
I don't remember the book.
It was like The Weekend Millionaire or something.
One of those ones.
Lines. Yeah.
The Millionaire Next Door.
Maybe. Yeah.
I remember that one. I read that one way back too.
Yeah, I had a bunch of books back then. Like I said, I read books.
Yeah. Yeah.
Books, I mean, that's all I did after that was a lot of reading books.
Got it.
Real estate investing and.
Yeah. So then Gino, why did you at that time go to him and say, hey, you know, if we're going to do this, I'll do it 50-50 with you? Was that your way of, it was just enticing? Like, you know, like what do you remember what the logic was there? Yeah. Like you just wanted him involved and you're like, hey, I just got to entice him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know why I did it, because I knew at his age, typically, parents and kids kind of drift apart because, you know, kids are kids and they get older and they have their own lives. And it was a way for me to stay in touch with my son more and spend more time with him, because that would have been inevitable if we weren't partners in real estate. So I made him my partner.
That's cool. That's
the primary reason. You know, I can make money in just about anything.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. Somebody gave me that gift. I can turn anything into money. But real estate, I knew, was key for the future, and not only my future, but his future. But the primary reason was just spend more time with my son.
Huh. Yeah, that's better than any financial reason.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Guess I know what I'm doing with my daughters when they're 18, hey. Especially now, because it's so hard for them to buy a property. I'm like, hey, I got an idea.
Yeah.
Here's how. Yeah. And we have to have a weekly meeting about it for 2 hours.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. Yeah. I'm trying to have one once a month.
Yeah.
Because they're involved in the businesses they took care of, and that's almost impossible.
And businesses, and then once you have kids too, it just, you know, I feel like I'm at that point now with my kids where I'm basically living my life, but I'm also living their life because I'm the transportation to whatever commitments they have. So I feel like I'm just living multiple lives. Sure. Wouldn't trade it. Like it's, I don't mind that. That is the time with my kids too. And we're talking about their day. We're talking about school. Yep. Some days they're talking to me more than other days, to be honest, you know?
Yeah. But you know what? It's all good. You know, a lot of people say, you know, they get into situations and with their kids and stuff, and it's like, they think, I can't wait till this is over. You shouldn't ever say that.
No,
because
I know.
Down the road, you'll think, I wish I was back there. doing that again. Like it only happens once.
I remember I keep in mind this graph, and there's different visualizations of it, but the one that I keep in mind is just the amount of time you spend with your children as the years go on. And, of course, when they're born, it like spikes. And then basically every single day that goes by, it's just less and less. Yep. And I just keep that in mind. I'm like, I don't know where I am on that graph, but I know it just goes in a direction I don't want it to go from this point forward. Yeah. So,
well, that's life.
Yeah. So you were flipping property. How long were you flipping property? Like, what kind of properties were you flipping? Residential?
Yeah, single family homes.
Okay.
But what happened was at the club, Matt was done his college, and he took what was the name of that?
The fitness and health promotion.
Yeah, so he was done school.
Yeah.
And he needed a job, so I gave him the keys and I said, "Here's your job," and he ran the club. And I went out and started flipping properties. They were all local properties. I flipped 4 or 5 properties, they're all by myself. Because I had the time,
So you did the work yourself too?
I did all the work myself, all of it. The only thing I don't do is when you need somebody with a ticket, like a gas fitter or something.
Yeah.
And something, but I did all my own wiring. I wired entire houses. I had the ESA come and, I put new services in all by myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that created, and they were successful. Like it was.
Oh yeah. Well, on average, I'd make like 25% net profit on a property. But back then, I could buy a property for $80,000.
Yeah, because you were in Port Colborne.
Yeah, right. and I'd sell it for $140,000 after I put $20,000 or $30,000 into it.
Got it.
Yeah, so it was fun. I was just doing it in my spare time. I didn't have to report to the club anymore unless there was an emergency for, somebody didn't show up. But it was good, and it worked out well. I kept a couple to rent instead of sold, so we kept a few.
And then you moved on to rent to own?
Rent to own with you guys.
What was it that interested you about the rent to own side of things?
I didn't even know I was interested in that until my wife saw that little ad about not using a hammer, that thing.
Yeah.
Like, she was one to read every word of every newspaper she could get her hands on. She says, well,
so we have her to
thank.
We have her to thank for
Absolutely.
the introduction.
I've heard to thank for most things in my life.
Yeah.
But she said, why don't you go check these guys out? I said, okay, I'll go. So I went to that fast start or whatever, the introduction thing.
Threatened Tom's life.
Yeah. So, So, and then we've been very best friends ever since.
Because that'd be different. Because in that case, you were buying something basically at, market value, we call it, versus like something that needed a ton, like more work.
Yep.
What was there a mindset shift there?
No, there wasn't for me because I found the rent to own process very interesting and compelling. And I felt right from the start that if you follow the process, there's other people who have done it and been very successful. So I just thought, I've always thought this in general, as far as real estate goes. If you really want the property, pay them what they want. As long as it works, the numbers work. I mean, you don't have to be a millionaire in your one house, but just pay what they want. Like if it's a $275,000 bungalow in Stony Creek, that's how we started.
Yeah.
235 or I don't know,
240.
240, yeah.
I know. I mean, in hindsight, when you look at those prices,
You just give it to them. Just give it to them. And it's better than missing out because you're trying to save $10,000, like over the grand scheme of things, over a 30-year mortgage or 20. What is that?
I know. It's
$100 a month, the difference, $50.
Really, yeah.
Yeah. So we've always, and that's how we got most of those homes, is we just went there and we'll take it. Just write it up.
Yeah, that's kind of how we did it too. It's the emotional side sometimes is like, well, no, I don't want to give them the asking price. We dealt with that with a lot with investors. I'm like, well, who cares? Like, one of the things, I forget where we heard this from, but it's like, if your skill set as an investor allows you to pay more for the property and make money still, you're at an advantage because you're at an advantage over all the other investors.
Sure.
Right. And, it's not to overpay. Like you don't want to, if the property was at 250, it's not to say, okay, I'll give you 500. Yeah. Right. No. But if you needed to, because you're going to knock that thing down and put a 50-story building and net out however much, then you still could, right? It's always like whatever your skill set allows you to do.
Some of them we did pay a little bit more than asking just to make sure we got it. It was a really good property.
Yeah.
And we wanted to make sure that, that back then there were some multiple offers and stuff.
And we were wrapping in closing costs of that at that time.
Yeah, I know. I
too.
can't believe we did that.
I know. Wasn't it great?
Yeah.
It was great. But it was totally upfront.
That was a shocker when I learned that you guys were,
we were the only people. The reason I know we were the only people doing it is because the number of people in real estate that told us that we weren't allowed to do that.
Yeah.
And then we had to get a letter from one of our lawyers. So, because we're like, hey, so this is interesting. So we went to the States and we found out that they were wrapping in closing costs on residential properties, right? So this is where the seller pays the buyer's closing costs.
Right.
And we're like, wow, that's interesting. We came back to Canada. We talked to the lawyers. Like, no, you can't do that here. Talked to another lawyer. No, you can't do that here. We talked to a third lawyer. He's like, on residential at least, on commercial, they were doing it. He goes, no one really does that here. He goes, but I don't see why you can't. And I was like, oh, I like that answer way better than the other answer.
You're hired.
Yeah. So then he drafted up a clause and we started using it, and that was it. And then we had to get a letter from him because we were getting accused from other people in real estate. They're like, you can't do this. This is mortgage fraud. And we're like, no. Yeah. We're putting it all on the agreement of purchase and sale. It's mortgage fraud when it's not on the agreement of purchase and sale.
Correct.
Right. And then we were sending in offers and then sending in this letter from our lawyer when they questioned us saying, hey, here's our letter from the lawyer saying it's all legitimate.
Right.
And then I don't know if we ever told you this, there was another brokerage around here. They gave us the hardest time about this. Any agents there, their broker, they gave us such a hard time about this stuff. We're like, guys, this is okay. Probably it was like a couple of years later, someone in our office has a listing. They get an offer from someone in that brokerage. Guess what clause it includes? The exact same clause that they were giving us crap about for years. Yeah. So it was funny. But anyways, that was I think we had that for it must have been 5, 6, 7 years, something like that, before it kind of subsided and the banks were like, we don't really like this anymore. So but
Hey everyone, before we get back to the podcast, I've got a quick plug for our weekly Tuesday email update. Every Tuesday, we send out a short and actionable email sharing 3 things the Rockstar team is focused on that week. We dive into the latest data, news, or a chart on the real estate market that's caught our attention, and we give our take on what it means for Canadians. We also share one of our most popular pieces of content, something that's really struck a chord with our community. Plus, we often offer free training classes, special events, live streams, and one-off classes for investors. It's a great way to stay on top of new strategies and learn from our experts without spending a dime. If you want all the insights, upcoming events, and some behind-the-scenes fun, sign up for our weekly Tuesday email update for free today. Sign up now at rockstarinnercircle.com/get-started and never miss an update. That's rockstarinnercircle.com/get-started to level up your investing.
Okay, so then Matt, during this time, so your dad comes to you. You're running the fitness club. For anyone listening, G&M Fitness in Port Colborne. How many square feet? Like what? It's like a
13,000.
13,000 square feet. Yeah. Machines, free weights, that type of thing. So it's like cardio. Cardio. So like a good life type of thing.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
So you're running this now. You're what? 20
at the time. I started there like part-time, just working in the summers when I was 17 and 18. And then I graduated college when I was 19 and started full-time like the day after I graduated.
Okay. Well, of course.
No break.
With him as your dad, I'm not actually surprised by that. Yeah. What, okay. So your dad comes to you to talk to you about real estate, saying, hey, let's do this thing together if you want to do it. And you're in? Like, why are you in? The reason I'm asking you, because we get so many questions from people like, hey, what do you talk to your kids about? Like, my kids are doing this. So this whole, like, as an investor looking at your kids and trying to help them understand things, it's good to hear it from the child perspective too, is to understand kind of where your mindset was when he came to you with this kind of proposition, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I think when I first was interested in it, it was, like I said, I was reading all these books and there was a lot of like promise of, becoming a millionaire.
Yeah. No work, no money.
Right.
Yeah.
Which obviously was kind of, enticing, but, so I think it was I guess a way to get ahead.
So it was the financial side of things.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, it was a lot to do for me anyways. Like I thought I was going to, buy these properties. They were going to cash flow, and that cash flow was going to pay for my lifestyle, and I could just do whatever I wanted, which didn't really turn out to be the case.
I know.
But
I think that's a common thought most people have. Yeah. Been down that road.
But what happened probably was even better. It was that, obviously we bought properties for cash flow, and that cash flow sustained the properties for years to this day, 16 years later. And, covers it so that, and then the equity buildup was, has been way better than any of the cash flow would have been. But that's what I thought in the beginning was, I'm going to have, 8 properties, and the cash flow from those properties will pay for my, my lifestyle, and I only have to work if I want to, kind of thing. But anyway.
But you guys held on to the majority of the properties you ended up buying anyways, right? Like was that always the kind of idea, was to start, after you did some flips, Gino, and you were holding a couple properties. Well, so you were doing flips and you were cashing out and making some money. Mm-hmm. But then you decided to hold some properties. Why did you decide to hold some properties at that time? Because a lot of people would be they would be more interested in cashing out and being like, well, I can make the 25% or whatever it was at that time, 25, 30 grand. Yep. I can pocket 30 grand. Why am I going to hold on to this thing and make $100 a month or whatever the number was?
Well, probably half of the rent-to-owns we had a dozen or more. The tenants bought the places after 2 years, 3 years, whatever. But once the tenants, like we would extend that rent-to-own agreement once or twice, but after that, it's like, these people are never going to buy this. So we end up just holding up long-term, and we never pursued another rent-to-own agreement after that. And we still have a couple tenants from 17 years ago that are still in those houses, but they're not rent-to-own tenants.
From 17 years ago?
Yeah.
Well,
we have two of them. Day one that are still in there.
Yeah, Hamilton and Sedgemount. Yeah.
So what do you think then?
A great deal on their rent.
That's what I was just going to ask. So then what do you think then, like, because the upside of that is they've been there for so long.
Yeah.
The downside of that with rent controls, the rent's way below market.
Correct.
So, I'm just curious, what's your thought what's your thought process on that?
It's good still, because they take care of the property. They went in as rent-to-own tenants. Mm-hmm. They still now have the mindset of a rent-to-own tenant, so we don't ever hear from them. It's worth having them there at below market rent, especially because they're, we live in Niagara. These places are one's in Scarborough, one's in Hamilton.
Got it.
So we're not close, but we don't hear from them ever. We visit them twice a year for inspections, and if you it's hands off.
And when you bought, if you rented it for cash flow at the time that you bought, I'd imagine like even with below market rent, you're still the numbers still work.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, we're not making, one of them was, we sold it, but it was $150 a month. The other ones are $200, $350. That's about it.
Yeah.
But, I spent the last 5 or 6 years liquidating properties with a lot of equity in them because we've had them for so long. Mm-hmm. So that was really a gift from that whole thing that we did with the rent-to-owns, is that those properties that we bought so long ago, they tripled in value.
Yeah.
And, I'm telling my son, I'm still old school, and it's like cash is king.
Yeah.
And, I'm saying, okay, so we have this property, it's making $350 a month. If we sell this, we're going to make $600,000. How long is it going to take us to make $600,000 with $350? Plus appreciation, like add whatever you want in there. It's going to take you a lifetime to make that kind of money off that property. And I have plans, like it's not that, very smart guy, Matt. He said, well, if you're going to make that money, you still have to have something somewhere to
you got to do
put
something
that
with
money.
Yeah.
You can't just let it sit around and lose value. And I did. I have the right contacts, and it's worked out great. So we've liquidated quite a bit. So
you're now taking the money and you're having it work for you in some other way.
Oh boy, is it ever working? Yeah. So I've got some really good contacts in the investment industry. So that money is making very, very good money, and I don't have to deal with the tenants anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the benefit of it is it's if you can invest in real estate right, And this is where things get so squirrely to me, because so many people talk about investing in real estate that they just went and bought 3 pre-construction condos and like that's it. And I'm like, to me, that's pure speculation. That's not investing. But if you can do it right, where these numbers, like you said, make sense over a period of time,
sure,
because of the leverage you're buying with little money down, you build up equity over time.
Absolutely.
Then you can then cash out. And we've seen a number of people do that. Like there's another investor that's coming to mind right now. They cashed a bunch, they cashed a number of their properties out, so a bunch of money, and then they just went to private mortgages. Yeah. And they're lending out now. Yeah. Like now they're playing bank, but they used all the funds that they were able to make for the equity build up over time, not 2 years. Like this is like same thing. It was like 10, 15 years, right? So
it'd be different, I suppose, if with these houses where we have all this equity tied up, if we could refinance them and then deploy that money.
Yeah.
But with the tenants in there paying below market rent, we can't really pull the equity because all of a sudden it's going to be severely negative cash flow to do that.
Yeah. So that wasn't,
and we can't, they're never going to leave. They're never going to leave because they got such a good deal on rent. They know they're going to hold on to that forever if they can. So
yeah, got it. Is there a benefit to that? Like, is there a benefit sometimes to real estate that you can't, in an emotional state, and this is not exactly an emotional state, but it's not an easy to liquidate it. Like on a stock, for example, if you're just like, oh, screw it, I'm going to sell this one. Mm-hmm. Sometimes when you go through properties, I'm sure you guys have had pain in the ass ones and better ones, like, is it a benefit that you can't just kind of pull the trigger and say, I want rid of this thing tomorrow? And it forces you to hold it a little bit longer. And then you see those kind of long-term benefits that you guys were talking about. What do you think?
Well, I know I have other colleagues and friends that have owned rental properties, and they run into trouble with people who can't pay rent and stuff like that, and they just sell it. And it's like, no, I don't want any part of this. It's a nightmare, and they all live to regret it. Every single one of them.
Oh, really? Just because they look back years later.
Listen, you gotta. I say it all the time. It's part of the game. If you're not prepared for that, this isn't passive income. You're involved. Whether you hire property managers or not, you're still involved. And there's going to be a lot of stressful moments, but it's part of the game. If you're not willing to put up with that, don't do it in the first place, because you'll just give it up, and giving it up after 2 or 3 years or a short term doesn't help anybody. It's certainly not going to help you. So you got to be in it for the long haul, just like anything else. I mean, if you're in the stock market or you're in whatever you're in, like you work at it, and it takes years. Nothing's easy. So.
When you only have one property too, it's a lot harder to kind of deal with those situations, because tenant stops paying rent. Now all of a sudden you're paying that mortgage payment out of your pocket.
Got it. If you have a few, it offsets it.
When we built up a portfolio, so when we had a tenant or a place go vacant or anything like that, the other properties covered that. That was the benefit of the cash flow over all these years, was that it let us withstand almost anything. Yeah. So that we never had to be in a position where we had to sell a property. It was always a choice.
You basically built a business that spit off income. Like, it was a profitable business every year. So if you look at it every year, and sometimes it was more profitable than others because you would have additional expenses if someone wasn't paying rent or there's some repairs. And then that business ended up creating value. Like any other business, over a period of time, there's a value in businesses because if they can show consistent cash flow numbers, or as businesses grow, whatever it is, right? And then there's this equity built up in that business, and then you now have the business itself is the asset,
right?
Which is the container for all these other assets.
Right.
And then you split it off. It's like this business here. Over time, it's like we build up this business. This is a different one. We have the real estate one as well, but this is a different one. And then it becomes worth something. Whatever, it's up for debate, maybe what that is, but there's some value to what we've done. It's just, that's the way we've always looked at it. It's just this like kind of business in a box type thing. And it's work. Like it's a business, right?
Sure, yeah.
No different than a health club. Like how, well, I mean, you're not there anymore, Gino, but like on a regular basis, but like, so how often are you at the health club now that you're managing? You've been
Monday to Friday.
Yeah. You've been doing it a while. So probably less than you were before. Right.
Yeah. We have a lot of good people working for us now. So that has been amazing. I've been running the gym for 20 years now. Right now, this last year has been like a dream.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You mean because of the team that you have working with you?
Yeah,
that's cool.
Have a lot of good people in certain places that, gives me a lot of freedom. And
the health and fitness trend has kind of grown. I would say in my mind, I don't really know, but it feels like over the last, however many number of years, but relatively recently, the health and fitness trend seems to have picked up more steam even.
Since COVID.
Is it? Yeah. Is that, that's sure. What you've seen? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Even, and it's a lot of younger people now, where.
That's great.
Pre-COVID, we were majority, I would say, in our gym anyways, say like 50 plus.
Okay.
We had a very small demographic, like in the 20 to 30 range. Since coming out of COVID, we are majority like between 18 and 30.
Oh, wow.
It's nuts.
But that's interesting because that dynamic in the gym, like the 18,
different.
18 to 30 year olds, lifting in front of the mirror, checking themselves out while they kiss their bicep doing a curl versus the 50 year olds just trying to kind of make sure they have enough mobility to get into full squat.
And we still have a lot of, of that older demographic too, but
do you see
the percentages have changed? And
how's the dynamic in the gym? Like, how does it work for the community? I guess there might have been a bit of a shift there too. No,
a little bit, yeah. I'll say they definitely use the gym a lot more. So whereas someone in working out in their 60s might come 2 or 3 times a week. These people in their 20s, they're 6 days a week, 7 days a week, sometimes twice a day. So the gym's getting a lot more use in that sense.
But that's good. Like the people, if they use the gym, then they're you're kind of tied there. I don't mean tied there in a bad way. It just becomes part of your lifestyle. Right. So because I've always looked at gyms as like it's as a business, and I've never run one, so I don't know, right? But I've always looked at it. How they looked at Starbucks as like the third place, because people go home, they go to work, and then they go and hang out at this place. I'm like, the gym has that benefit. Like if someone gets into that routine, that becomes part of their life. They're always there, and you create this community aspect to it because of that. You meet friends there, you meet business associates there. Like there's stuff that just happens.
I think the advantage to having that younger demographic now is the ability to communicate the way they do. They're always on their phones. They're always talking to their friends. So they're very connected. Yeah. And when a group of them is at the gym, then they're always talking to other people about the gym. And it's like a recruitment tool, actually, in my mind, because the people, not to say that the people in 50s and 60s and 70s, we have people in their 90s in our club. They're not communicating like the younger people are.
Not putting it out there all the time.
That's right. And the younger people are putting everything out there, including their gym workouts, and they're forever taking pictures of themselves and sending them off.
That's cool.
So I think that's an advantage to having the younger people advocating for your club and what they're doing.
It's funny. You made me think about this. Like, Dave Butler, who you guys know. Do you know? Did you ever hear the story how we met? It was actually at Gold's.
Oh yeah,
at Gold's gym.
Oh cool. I
was working out. He came up to me. He's like, "Hey, you're Rocco's buddy." This is another friend, a mutual friend that we had. I'm like, "Yeah," but like I didn't know who he was.
Who are you?
Like, yeah, I'm Dave. I played hockey with him or whatever. I don't know. I guess we had met someplace else and I had just forgotten or whatever. So we started chatting. I think that time or another time, he's like, "Yeah, I do mortgages, whatever." I'm like, "Oh, this is right as I'm trying to buy my first investment property. That it was a poor credit detached 2-bedroom that I was trying to flip."
Right.
And I'm like, "Okay, give me your card," And I didn't use him because I was in the process of using someone else who could not give me the mortgage. And then I went to Dave because I was like, kind of like at this point, I had gone in a firm on an offer. Well, I didn't know any better, right? So I went in firm and because I was pre-approved, but then couldn't get the mortgage for whatever reason. And Dave ended up being able to help me out. Okay. And I mean, that was years ago. And if you think of how much business, we've sent his way, together, we've just done a lot of stuff.
Sure.
That was like all from Gold's Gym. Mm-hmm. Like it's crazy, So it was, there's just it's interesting. And then I think I'm curious. Gino, you said something before just about like, and Matt, you kind of alluded to it too, just about the work involved. Like, hey, you're just going to kind of do stuff. Like it's part of the game. You just got to do stuff. That's a very disciplined approach. Is that something that you always had, or it comes from your time as the like bodybuilder and stuff, knowing that you just have to put in the time to get the results?
Well, I think for me, it's just, it's my nature being raised like you guys by immigrants that work hard all their lives. And, I look back at pictures in these photo albums, and when I was a young teenager and my dad was putting an extension on the house, and who's up in the rafters with the carpenter? I am. Yeah. I've been like that all my life, and I'm never afraid of hard work. I'm not one to look for the easy way out of anything. Like if it's time to work, it's time to work. Let's get it done. And the more physical to me, the better. Yeah. Because I just consider that part of keeping fit. And being physical, doing something physical every single day. I mean, we're going to pick up these weights. It's 4,000 pounds of weights that I have to take up a flight of stairs. Yeah. Me and Matt and one of our employees up and down the stairs 100 times. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. Same with the floor. I mean, they're 2x2 tiles. We're doing 4,000 square feet of it. Who's bringing those up the stairs? Those
rubber tiles to carry, because they flex and stuff, because we have some in Europe, and I go and put them in the garage and stuff, so I take them up and down every year. It's way more work than you would think, just carrying some of those rubber tiles. Yeah,
so we're doing that all this week. So
I finally capitulated a couple of years ago. And I'm looking at these, and I'm looking down at the garage. I'm like, why am I carrying these down? So I started then just tossing them, making sure no one was coming. I was just kind of tossing. So I still carry them back up, obviously. Yeah. But I started just tossing them down. I was like, oh my God, that was way better. For the last 10 years, I could have been doing that way instead of carrying these darn things. So and then the way you guys look at, and I don't want to talk about your finances specifically. I guess what I'm asking is, at the gym, I know I saw recently in one of your newsletters that you guys started taking Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which is kind of like, some people must be like, what the heck is, like, did anyone even ask you, like, what the heck's wrong with you?
Right over the front desk, we have a, Bitcoin accepted here sign that starts conversations every single day.
Really? Yeah. So why'd you guys decide to start doing that?
Eventually, I think everybody will be. I thought we would be the first ones in Port Colborne, maybe even Niagara, to accept Bitcoin, but we're not. Number two.
Number two as a gym, or number two
as a business? Oh, really? Yeah, there's a gas station in Port Colborne that accepts Bitcoin.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yeah, we haven't obviously done a lot of transactions in Bitcoin. Only one so far. We started in December accepting it, and it took till April to do our first transaction, but it is a good conversation starter.
Mm-hmm. And you guys are you're open to that for what reason?
Well, I think, like I said, I think eventually everybody's going to be doing this at some point, and we have an opportunity to kind of be kind of on the ground floor and be ahead of the trend.
So, and Gino, what do you think about that?
Well, I'm
do you even care at this point? Like, you're like,
no, I do. Like,
no, I don't mean it in a bad way. I just mean it's just like, hey, that's outside my realm, and I don't care. But I'm just.
Well, I've been learning more and more about Bitcoin. I mean, like you, it took me a couple of years to finally, after I keep hearing you guys, especially your brother. I mean,
look, I tried to battle him. Yeah, I was always trying to play the counterpoint to everything he said. I'm like, well, what about this? What about this?
Yeah, but I'm a lifetime opportunist. That's me. Mm-hmm. Like, if I see opportunity somewhere that could benefit me in some way, usually financially, then I'll look into it. And, but I'm not in with both feet. That's for sure. I'm not putting all my funds in Bitcoin. That at this point. To me, anyway, that would be a little bit foolish, but I'm in, so if things go the way they are predicted to go over the next 5 to 10 years, then that should be another great source of income for me.
Do you guys think, like, the run-up in property prices that you guys saw, I mean, you've had properties all over, but like, if you call it from the Port Colborne, right? So Port Colborne property prices from when you started flipping properties, Gino. So you started flipping properties, or were flipping those properties, what, 20 years ago, 25, something like that.
Yeah,
probably 25
years ago.
Okay,
yeah.
So 25 years ago, you were buying these properties for about 85. What once they were 80? Okay, but once they were fixed up and they were normal, they're what, one in the 120s?
Oh no, 130, 135, 140 somewhere.
Okay, so just call it, let's call it whatever. Call it 130, 140.
Yeah.
So that property, that type of property today that you were flipping back then, what do you think it's worth today?
Well, the ones I was selling for 140, let's say, 550, 600,000.
Okay, so it's gone up, what, that's 4 times?
Yeah.
About that, right?
Yeah.
So 400%, 25 years. And then, like, is there just an element of that, you know, do you guys look at why? Like, do you ever think why? Like, or you're just like, oh, I don't care, I have the property, so I just like the value went up, so I'm happy about it.
No, over the years, as I learned more and more about, I guess, money.
Yeah.
The reason why became even more of the reason to own real estate, and then now Bitcoin as well, is just the devaluation of our dollar.
And I mean, I know we talk about that, so I'm not, I want to just put it out there that I'm not trying to lead you to that answer. Yeah. You know what I mean? No. I'm just curious if you think that makes sense, or if you're like, supply demand, you know, is the only thing. Like, I don't know.
No, you know what? When Tom said that one thing to me, and I constantly repeated to other people about money devaluing, you know, how he'll give you the example of this house that's 70 years old is still the same house today. I mean, the house hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is how many dollars you got to dish out to get that same house. And that's really when it struck me how to explain this to people, that it's not the house that's worth more. It's the money that's worth less. Yeah. And, you know, so
it's hard to argue that point. Like, you know, because I'm always looking for the opposite side of the argument. And it's like when we were talking about Bitcoin early on, like when Tom and I got into it, and I was just as much of I was just as convinced about it at that time as Tom was. Mm-hmm. I just always am looking for the counter argument. So as much as people might have thought that like I wasn't into it, I was just like, well, let's just, you know, pull this back a little bit and let's look at all the risks involved, you know. But once you understand that the money's being devalued, it's really hard to argue that.
Yeah,
it is.
It's like once you see it,
because it's the truth.
See it.
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, yesterday there was someone posted something on Twitter. I couldn't help. I don't post much on Twitter, but there was someone that posted some sort of. He was a journalist. I'm not a huge fan. I don't know how it even came up on my feed, but anyways, it was like this CBC clip about them kind of talking about money and telling everyone why. This isn't a political statement, but it was more about, they were specifically talking about Mark Carney, and he's better because he used to run these the Bank of Canada, Bank of England, you know, and here's how money really works. Like, yes, they might grow the money supply, but then they pull it back in, and it's really to support the economy and then to slow it down. And he's the guy that understands this is why he's like going to be so great and stuff. And like, okay. Mm-hmm. And so then I just went quick and I got the 10-year chart of the Canadian money supply and I put it up there. And they don't pull it back. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't, there's no this like, yeah, we're just going to support the economy and put it out there and then we pull it back. Like, it doesn't work like that. I'm like, what are these guys talking about? They have no idea what they're talking about. So I had to post that out there because it's just this point that I feel is so valid to everything we do, you know, and it's just mind-boggling sometimes. What about food? What about food? I like, where does that come into play? You wrote a book, just for anyone that's not talking. Yeah. You still give that out at the gym?
Yeah.
What is it? Eat smart, eat right? No.
SOS, remember, Nick?
No.
SOS.
Smart.
Eat often. Eat small.
Okay. See, I had one. I got one.
1 out of 3.
That's 33%.
Failing grade, Nick.
No, look. In this office, pass is 30%. Okay. I need ChatGPT to give me the answer, but and you guys give that out to new members of the gym?
Yes.
Yeah.
So why? That's always been a thing for you. Like, is it the nutrition side of stuff? Because people want to come in and lose weight, and they spend 2 hours on the treadmill versus just changing their diet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And most of the questions when I was there full time, most of the questions were geared to weight loss, and most people thought that no matter what they do outside the gym, it'll be kind of negated because they're coming to the gym. Mm-hmm. So, you know, they'll have pizza 3 times a week and French fries at McDonald's twice a week and eat crap all the time. But I'm going to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, so I should be fine. And that's not the case. We all know that.
It's a lot easier to cut out a slice of pizza than to work it off on the treadmill, right?
Yeah. So all those questions, I feel that at the front desk, I finally said to myself, you know what, I'm just going to put all these answers down in a book so that those typical questions will be answered right away. So as soon as someone signs up, we shoot them online. They have it in their inbox. It's the book, copy of the book.
What did you put in there? You did put a guideline for protein. Your guideline for protein that you feel is a good one is it a gram per pound of body weight?
It was like 35% of your total daily intake.
Of your total daily.
Because that changes person to person and what your priorities are. You're looking to lose weight, gain weight, whatever. Okay, got it. Because I know a lot of people that I've spoken to about that type of stuff when they hear different protein goals or different, breakdowns of how much protein to take. That's like a lot of meat. Like that's, I can't, they're nowhere close to that. Because they don't really know what meat is worth gram for gram in protein. Like I keep telling people, like these guys are trying to build all this muscle and they're eating 6 chicken breasts a day. It's like, that's ridiculous. Do you know how much protein is in 3.5 ounces? That's like half a chicken breast. 3.5 ounces of chicken breast is 27 grams of protein.
Yeah.
Like, why do you need to eat 6 of them? That's crazy. It's nuts.
They just don't do it. Yeah.
But most people are low in their protein intake.
Yeah. By default,
Yeah. They don't. Yeah, I guess most people don't prioritize it. That's one of the things.
It's hard to try. Look, it's more
to teach is when you're building a meal, you build it around your protein. Most people start they think, oh, I'll have a muffin for breakfast. It's not a meal. It doesn't have any protein in it at all. You start with that first and then build the rest of your meal around the protein source just to help prioritize it.
Yeah, my daughter, both my daughters, so my daughters are 14 and 11, both of them. And I think the younger one saw the older one doing it, so she just wanted to do it. They do meal prep. Mm-hmm. So my older daughter started doing it herself. So when she started in high school, she ended up, because then they had the freedom. So she started going out for lunch a lot more. They were going out for pizza and to McDonald's and, all the places that, just all the normal places people would go. Yeah. And she just wasn't feeling so good. And she brought it upon herself. This was not me telling her to do this. But she came and asked about it. And I gave her some options of what we could do. And she's just started wanting to do her meal prep and taking her food. And now, now Sundays I'm cooking steak. I'm barbecuing steak for her so she can take steak for the week and things like that. And she's noticed the biggest difference to the point that now she's like, I just feel better. Like now she knows. She still eats like fast food and stuff like that. Like she's a teenager. Like it's great. Go, but she knows what it's about. And when she eats that, she's like, I don't really feel right, but she's like, I just wanted it, But to me, I'm just like, man, just the fact that she understands the difference between how a meal will make you feel and how a well-structured meal, your body, feels after that versus that other stuff. Well, at 14 years old, I'm like, man, she's
thinking about her food intake. She's thinking about it. That's the problem. People don't think about that. They just, when they're hungry, if there's a McDonald's, I'm just going to grab something to eat. There's no thought put into anything that they're eating. Mm-hmm. But with meal prep, you're actually thinking about the meat, the protein, because most meals are prepared around carbohydrates.
Yeah. Well, it's cheaper. It's less expensive.
Yeah. And it's filling.
Yeah. What do you guys think about all the protein powders out there? I don't mean which one's good, bad. I just mean protein powders in general. And here's why I'm asking. And I'm no doctor. I don't know. But there's something about it for me that I don't like that as a regular alternative. I don't mind it sometimes because it's highly, highly processed food. So if you can't get it elsewhere, you're really short and you're going to go eat a Big Mac or you can have a protein shake, then I'm like, okay, take the protein shake. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But as a default mechanism on a regular basis, multiple times a day, I personally don't think it can't be good long-term. No?
I don't know if it's going to be bad for you, but you definitely want to get your food from whole food sources first. Yeah,
coming from the hunter, this guy, of course. Yeah, if you're going out,
everything.
Yeah. So if you're going out, no, but it's true. If you're going getting wild game, I mean, you can't get healthier meat.
Yeah. It's more, it's a convenience thing, right? So people typically don't eat enough protein. So if you're not going to get it all through your food, the next easiest thing is the supplement, right?
Yeah.
But you don't want to rely on it. You shouldn't be having it, as your only source of protein, or even having it for 2-3 times a day. You want to prioritize food first.
Yeah. I got this thing. It's just in my head about just too many pills and powders and potions. I'm just like, you just try to.
But the advantage to protein powder, Nick, is that it's so easily absorbed into your system.
Mm-hmm.
It's pre-digested product, and it's just your body just soaks it up. But I agree with you. If you can get it from real food, that's where you should get it.
Yeah. What are you guys up to now with the properties? So is the plan to hold on to some? So you've liquidated some. Most. Okay. So you're just, so these ones, you have a few you're holding on to, some because they're underperforming because the tenants.
We got 3 left, but they're on the chopping block.
And the plans to check out of those ones as well at some point in the.
Yeah, we're going to keep one in Crystal Beach because it's got property with it. There's 2 houses on the same property. It cash flows like crazy. Okay. So there's no sense in dumping that one. It's doing really well. But the one in Scarborough, and one in Hamilton.
Yeah.
Those are next.
Okay.
But that's it. We're done.
And then
I'm done anyway.
Yeah, he's done.
Yeah.
He's not.
I still plan to hold on to some property. Yeah.
Okay. And it's just different stage, which is normal.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, look, I'm kind of in between you two guys for age, right? Yeah. And it's, you look around at one point, you're like, okay, well, like this has served this stage of my investing life, and now I'm like at one point in time, you don't have it to hold it forever if you don't want it. You can sell and then reap the benefits. That's why you did it in the first place. That's why when you read the book and you're like, hey, this thing might make me money, you got to go enjoy that too, right?
And that's the issue that I tell everybody about this when we talk about real estate. I'm in that phase of my life where I've done it.
Yeah,
it's served me very, very well, thanks to you guys, and I'm on my way out. I don't want anything to do with it anymore. Great. I've been through all that. But with Matt, and he's how old are you now? You're 38?
Yeah.
So, he's still, when I was 38, holy, going gangbusters.
Yeah, it's a whole different world.
Everything, whatever I could get my hands on, opening businesses. I've had, multiple businesses all at the same time. I was really going gangbusters, and that's the stage of life he's at. So we're completely different in where we are in our lives. So
yeah, I agree, man. Like, I think you really need to, and I think sometimes people get caught up and there's just more and more and more for more sake versus like, hey, what was the initial purpose? Right. If the initial purpose was something, and you can then leverage whatever you did, business, real estate, whatever, to then reach that goal. Mm-hmm. Well, you got to enjoy that too. Like whatever it is, like maybe it's just time at home. Maybe it's a cottage. Maybe it's time away someplace. Whatever the heck that is, you got to enjoy that time too.
That's exactly what I'm doing. That's where I am.
There was, oh man, I lost my train of thought because I want to say something on that point around the holding the properties. Anyways, it'll come back to me. With the real estate, what knowing what you know now, Matt, like where do you think what is would it just be like buying and holding properties again?
Yeah. That would be the plan. So like at some point the plan would, for myself anyway, would be to move out of the house that I'm in now into another one and convert that into a rental property and hold on to that.
And what about for your kids? Mm-hmm. Like, what would you think about that? With where prices are now today, like what is there like a thought that one of those that you either have now or buy before they're at an age that maybe they're looking to kind of, live in a place themselves is to kind of move that over to them, and maybe they pay you for it, whatever, I don't know, whatever financial arrangement, but is that because early on, Gino, that wasn't really part of the equation when you went to Matt and said, hey, let's do this together, because the cost of the properties wasn't like as prohibitive as it is now versus incomes. Yeah. So does that come into your equation now when you have to think about that stuff?
It does, and I'm sure it's going to play a part somehow, whether, the property itself gets passed down to them or the property then gets, either leveraged somehow to extract equity to help them with a down payment. But yeah, it's definitely going to play into it somehow.
Yeah. And you know what, you saying that was reminding me of the point that I was thinking about before, because Gino, when you were talking about you've done this and you've come to this point now and you're kind of cashing out, there's a lot of investors who are like, well, I have these properties, I'm going to hold on to them and give them to my kids because they've benefited them, and maybe they're even paid off, so they're spitting off these like solid amounts of cash flow they can leverage against them, whatever they want to do. And one of the accountants and kind of estate planning guys that we've spoken with, he's in his experience, he's like, the number one question that you have to ask is, do the kids even want anything to do with these properties? Because he's seen a number of times where the kids want nothing to do with these properties. They're trying to liquidate them as soon as possible. And it can create problems from the estate planning side. So if you're not even having that conversation with your kids and be like, hey, do you even care about real estate? And like, if this is meaningless to you, then what the heck am I doing this for? But sometimes we force, I think, we try to force our own priorities of what served us so well onto, the next generation. And I don't want anything to do with this. That's
a big part of what I'm doing with the equity, and cashing out of these properties is a succession plan for my kids and my grandkids, and then they can do whatever the heck they want. There's not going to be any properties involved, maybe one. So
it was great when I saw the picture, one of the newsletter, because I read you guys, I see the newsletter. I mean, anytime I see it, I open it up. I'm like, oh, what's going on at the gym now?
Yeah, thanks.
And it was the one I think that's when I reached out to you, right? And I'm like, I just saw the pictures of, I forget what picture it was. I guess was it just you with them, or were you in the picture too, Gino? I forget. But I was just like,
was
man.
It recently?
Yeah, it was recently, probably a couple weeks, 3 weeks ago.
Maybe when I was in Mexico.
Oh, it might have been one of those.
Family.
Yeah.
You said you seen them with my grandkids, and you thought of me.
Yeah, because I'm like, man, I see these grandkids, and I'm thinking, I just know kind of the type of person you are. I'm like, how happy is he with having these grandkids around?
Absolutely, And I'm sad now because Matt fired me from picking them up at school. So I used to see them every Monday to Friday, pick them up at school, and spend an hour and a half or so with them. Till Matt got home, and I'm not doing that much anymore. So. But one's 14 and one's 10. So 9.
I remember that.
15 and 9.
15 and 9.
Well, hey, how is he supposed to remember anymore? He doesn't spend time with them anymore. It's because of you. Yeah. That's cool, man. So what about just kind of doing all this stuff together between the business and the real estate, like the gym and the real estate? What do you guys like this? It's father and son working together. I mean, there's lots of good to that too, but has there been some challenges? I should probably ask Matt that more than you, because you're just going to blast through into
I know what my challenge is, but
but I'm curious though, man, because we get asked that about working together as brothers, and that has a ton of upside, but I mean, there's been some challenges too, right?
I wouldn't say there's been any like major challenges, probably mostly because
you're so passive.
I'm the perfect partner for him. Or not a lot bothers me. So
So you just take things in stride. And let him get all
way too
strong.
much. It gets on my nerves. But my daughter's exactly the opposite. She's like me. Go. Just either you're here to help me or you're in my way. I always say that.
It's so funny.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm going to tell you something funny. I haven't even told Matt this, but when I go into that club now, I mean, the club is just celebrated our 39th anniversary there. 39 years owning a health club. It's quite an achievement. But I often feel like I'm the fifth wheel. Like I'm just, this is like, Dad, just leave us alone. We know what we're doing. And we're right and you're wrong. And I'm thinking, all the crap that I've been through running this club and getting it where it is today. Granted, they have digitized everything. There's not a piece of paper in that place. And when I left, everything was on paper, everything. And so to their credit, Matt's done extremely well. I'm very impressed, and very impressed with my own club. When I walk in there, it's like one of the nicest clubs I've ever been in, and I've been on a lot of clubs. But it's funny that, being the one that pioneered that club and built that club, me and my wife, both of us, that I almost feel like I'm not part of it anymore.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
I don't think you're not part of it. It's just different. Different.
I feel like I'm the one just coming in dictating about problems, and you should do this and you should do that, and don't wait till next week to do it now. like that type of thing.
You could just go in and enjoy it too. There is that option.
Well, I do. I go into talk.
I got you, Matt. I got you. Don't worry.
He's got your back. Yeah, lucky you. But I go in to talk to the members because there's still all kinds of members there that have been members for 35 years.
Yeah.
And they're all still there regularly, and I have a great time talking to all the members. But as far as the staff goes, they've got everything under control, and I don't even know how to do anything on the computer anymore. The new software is all new, and I've never learned it on purpose because I didn't want to be part of it anymore. So
I wonder if you never made those changes, Matt, like a lot of businesses, very successful, great businesses, well-run businesses, but if they don't also change with the times,
right,
the business can be the best thing ever, but they kind of fall behind. Yep. Like maybe that's one of the reasons that it's still thriving.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, Nick, that I give a lot of credit to you and your brother for teaching us how to run a business properly and getting customers in the door and marketing properly. And
I appreciate you saying that, but we just started making mistakes before you guys. That was it.
Coming into Rockstar, it was income for life when we started.
Yeah.
We came in, all gung ho about real estate. As far as like the gym went, what I wanted to do there was I just wanted to be a personal trainer. That's what I wanted to do. That was the number one thing. That's what I thought I would always do, is just be a trainer. But then start from you guys, we started learning about business and how to run business properly. And I started getting into that. And then quickly it was like, no, I don't want to be on the floor training people. I want to be, building a business and an asset and doing it. And that never would have happened if we didn't meet you guys.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know, where the gym would be had we not come across paths.
Well, I appreciate. I think you guys gave me goosebumps because I genuinely appreciate you guys saying that. Those are really nice things to say, and Tom and I think really highly of you guys.
Appreciate that, but who would have thought that joining you guys here to buy real estate is one of the things that really, really helped our business. Like, who would have thought that? It had nothing to do with the health club in that business, But to your credit, also, like, you guys went out and did, like, you guys were, like, Gino, like you said early on, like, you just do shit. Yeah.
You're just like, oh, okay, this works like this. I think I figured this out now. Now I'm going to go do it. Yeah. And Matt, it's obvious that you have that as well. Like, you might be a little bit more passive in your approach to certain things, but it's often like you went out and just flipping did stuff.
Yeah, it was just, I guess it's just a learned behavior.
But that's what it is. But how many things, even if there were some lessons that came from us that you saw, we explained how we were doing things and you took those lessons, you still have to screw them up 5 times because you have to implement them into your business, and you do them one way and you're like, that didn't really work. And then you kind of, so, but it's just, what, I don't know, man, our belief has always been that if you can kind of be, more independent, and you can have this, you can create a stream of income from this business, and you have these assets to protect your purchasing power, and whatever, whether it's real estate, nice, you can leverage it, spits off income. Maybe, in the past we were talking about gold, and gold has served us, very well as well. It's held its purchasing power over time. Bitcoin recently, obviously, I don't know if anyone's heard, Tom's might have mentioned that once or twice, so, but it's just like, it really feels like those are the pillars to really giving you a lot of options, and you just don't have to be tied down into one direction that maybe you didn't, you can you can ebb and flow. I remember when there was, another kind of chain that came into your town in that space. Mm-hmm. And when they packed up and left, I was, because that's obviously a threat in that small area for you guys. And when they packed up and left, I believe they've ended up packing up and left or changed.
No, they're still there.
Oh, they're still there.
They're still there.
Oh, but they're just not.
Barely.
Yeah.
We're crushing them.
But that's what I mean. And that was I was cheering. Tom and I both were just cheering for you.
It's like the David and Goliath thing because it was the YMCA.
Yeah. And okay, I didn't want to say that. Yeah.
Well, completely subsidized by us taxpayers. Can you imagine? I'm paying taxes to help support our
competitor. Yeah.
Nice, eh?
Yeah. And I remember when they opened and we had some conversations. And then when we got the update later on, it was like, I was flipping, cheering from the rooftops, man. It was so cool to hear,
Thanks.
So, Okay, guys, look, it's been a while. Real estate. So the real estate served its purpose for you guys. Business served its purpose. You guys are figuring it out as you go. Father, son work together. No fist fights yet.
No.
That works.
Not happening.
Yeah.
I don't want to hurt the guy.
Yeah. And you haven't beat up Tom yet either. So apparently some stuff that we shared with you works. So that's good too. But guys, we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
Long time. And I just want to say genuinely, we appreciate 1000% all the support you guys have given us over the years. I would never ever insult you by calling you guys clients. Like it's 100%. We look at you guys as friends. So I genuinely appreciate it.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to see, how things started and like how you started with Matt, Gino, and it's going to be interesting to see Matt, how you go on with your kids. And because I'm trying to figure we're at the same stage, right? Because the kids are roughly the same ages, and I'm trying to figure out how we do this now too. It's interesting. Well, and he gets to sit back and laugh at us. Like, I don't know. I did my job and you guys figure it out. Right. So appreciate the time, guys. Really appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.